Hello and welcome to this Upgrading Your AEG video. This is actually part of a series of videos which the playlist for should be linked in the corners and in the description below. I will just say a quick disclaimer of myself and Tom are not be-all and end-all experts. We have a fair amount of knowledge and everything said in these videos are our own personal opinions. So watch it and then go do your own research and come to your own conclusions before doing any teching. With that, enjoy the video. So, seeing as we've chatted around the subject quite a lot, should we talk about what you can do to your barrel and hop unit?
Yeah, okay. So we bought a gun, feed the barrel, but we're feeding it with quality ammunition. Brilliant. Probably one of the next easiest things to do without having to crack a gearbox open, because there's soon again warranty issues and there's a bigger level of experience needed before you start cracking gearboxes.
Yeah.
Is your hop. And your hop unit. I tend to flat hop everything that I go anywhere near, and I'm very boring, and I use the same recipe that I've been using for the last 5 years now. And I'm sure what I do is and the recipe that I use for my flat hopping is not the flavour of the month from various forums who are using God knows what. This week, I do the same thing. And I'm not saying, well, I got that from Airsoft. We did a video on flat hop. So I just bought the same stuff that they did. I'm not a great tech. It's not something I do for a living. I fiddle with my guns, and I've looked after a few teammates' guns.
Flat hopping is kind of something I'd do as well. I think for most guns, if you're trying to lift a bit heavier weight, flat hop is the way to go. R hops and S hops, I only really use. I've got an R hop in my DMR because it's a DMR, and I did it mainly because I wanted to see what the difference was, and then it took an age, so I did a video on actually doing the R hop, and the original edit of that was over an hour because it took that long. There were like 4 or 5 different attempts, and I had to rip the hop out, put a new one in, rip the hop out, put a new one in. I think flat hopping is the easiest way to upgrade your hop consistency, other than taking your hop rubber off and silicon greasing around it to give you slightly better air seal. I think that's one thing that hop units do lack generally, is when you get them they'll have crappy air seal, and the best way to test that is to get yourself a chronograph. I think if you're going to do any form of tacking work, the first thing you need to do is get yourself a chronograph, and they're not expensive. I think I picked this one up off AK2M4 for about 40 quid. So for the cost of a new barrel, you can get this, and this is going to last you a lot longer, and is a lot more useful.
Take that chrono to your local site, and check your chrono against their chrono, so you have a vague idea. Really, the only decent chronos are scans, but they're 250 quid.
Yeah, no.
So they're generally a lot of the ones you buy aren't too bad, but they're not calibrated. But at least, at the very least, take your chrono along with you to the game day. When you chrono your gun on their chrono your gun on your chrono, see where the discrepancy is, and you at least have a vague idea of whereabouts you are.
Or if you forget to do that, just assume that this chrono is reading about 20 FPS over, and just aim for 20 FPS below anything. It's the safest way to do it.
Okay, so hops. Okay, so most of us, we should really, hopefully all know what the standard hop is and how a hop works. It's just little rubber nub comes down, and it's BB is held against the little nub. This is going to be weird. Yeah. Held against the little nub, and as the air comes on, it flicks it, and you get back spin as it goes down the barrel. Okay? Yeah. And different hop. That little thing that comes down is generally attached to the little hop bucketing itself, and there's loads of different shapes. There's W's and nubs and ends and little feathers and all sorts of. And little C and all sorts of, and apparently, and every week there's a new one that's apparently better. So the two, like whatever.
So what you got remember there used to be the Maple Leaf Autobot and Decepticon rubbers, and they were called that because one of them looked a bit like the Decepticon logo, and the other one was different, and they were like diamond shaped or square shaped because one of them gave you better range and one of them gave you better accuracy, and all this crap. Most part. The whole idea behind the hop is to put backspin on the BB. Now, flat hopping means that you've got a longer surface to do it over, so theoretically you get a more consistent spin per BB. Whereas if you think about that, you do have some wiggle room in your barrel because you're not the BB is what 5.95 and the tightest barrel you can get is 6.01, so there is 0.04 mil movement there. So if your BB just kind of hits to one side, it's going to give it a slightly different path to if it hits it straight on. Whereas with a flat hop, you're going to be applying a flat pressure the entire way round, as opposed to a nub or a concave or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if the BB's slightly off; it still runs down that.
Yeah, it still runs down the flat surface.
Works, effectively, if you look inside, again, if you look inside a normal hop bucking, there's a little bump just inside it. The flat hop, effectively, you either buy a bucking which doesn't have it on, so it's just a little tube, effectively, or you buy one like I do. I buy polymer purples and cut all the stuff off with the Dremel, turn it inside out and take it off with the Dremel, turn it back inside and use that, rotate it 90 and put it on. And then you buy, instead of the little nub which depresses that bucking, you buy a special little, it's just a much bigger one, which is flat, hence flat hop. It's really not very complicated.
Yeah. The other thing you can do is on most hop up arms they have a kind of little semicircle where you put your hop up nub. I do have one somewhere. What some people do is cut that off and then use a bit of an eraser as the flat hop nub because it is a semi-squishy material that's less squishy than the rubber and applies a flat pressure. Or if you're a massive...
I sort of think all that stuff turns into a hobby all of its own.
Oh yeah, it really does, and that's half the fun for me is teching in.
It's a bit like people that buy 3D printers and then spend all the time building bits for their 3D printer.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of a nerd. I have a 3D printer, but I don't really build bits for it. I use it to build bits for this. So there's a whole world behind people trying to do upgrades and finding the actual best hop up method. And then our hop effectively. So we'll know we've got the window at the top of the barrel. Our hop effectively fills that entire window with a patch. So instead of just a little kind of even the flat hop, it still comes down flat. With an R hop, because the entire window's filled, it kind of comes down in a circle and kind of cradles the ball, Rammers. It cradles the ball. Yeah.
So you get really even pressure. But R hops are generally two problems with R hops I see. One, you generally have to use a heavier ammo. So we've just been talking about that. But say you want to go to a CQB site, which has a limit of 0.25s. I've had R hops before, and the minimum weight I needed was a 2.8, and even then it was probably overhopping.
Yeah. And
most R hop manufacturers will tell you it really needs a 3 or a 3.2 or a 3.6. And then the other thing I've come across is they're generally consumable.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know actually. A good R hop should last because they are made from pretty durable material. But any hop up rubber will wear out over time because you've got a harder plastic hitting against a softer rubber.
They just wear fast. For me, most of the stuff, and I could well be wrong, and again, I don't have a lot of experience, but to me, they just seem to be a consumable product.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't shoot very much, so that could be a long time. For other people, that could be quite a short time. I would personally put one in a DMR or a sniper, a flat hop. Sorry, an R hop. Because I'm not going to shoot very much.
Yeah,
and then everything else, I'm going to flat hop. You get 95% of the benefit for literally 5% of the effort.
Yeah. The other thing we can talk about is S hops, which are supposedly the easier R hop method, which I haven't tried yet. I do have the materials to have a go at trying, but I haven't tried yet. And that is effectively that. I've got a barrel here. You take your barrel, you get a bit of a tech's favourite bit of Teflon tape. You wrap it around a rod that is slightly smaller than the diameter of the barrel. Wedge it in there. Get S-hop. Get Sugru and massage it into the hop-up window, which is there. And then smooth it on the outside and leave it to set. And then you take your stuffing point out, and then suddenly you have apparently a perfect R-hop patch, but made out of Sugru, hence the S-hop. And now you shall be seeing Tom looking very disgusted at this method.
I'm not convinced that this sounds like a wise and sensible thing to do. As I say, I think a lot of people that do this sort of stuff, it's almost that's part of their enjoyment. That's part of their hobby is fiddling with their hops.
I will say,
new things.
I did have an S-hop done by a professional tech a while ago, purely because I was curious as to what performance difference it'd make, and he was doing it at 15 quid a pop, and I was like, sure, and he fixed some other issues for the same price in a gun, and it was really good, and it was in my old DMR, and it worked really, really bloody well. It did take a little while to settle in, but once it settled in, it was really good. And I believe that whoever has now bought that gun off me is still using that Airsoft today and is loving life with it. But I guess one of the things we haven't addressed is when you use a flat hop and when you use an R hop, you require less of it to stick into the path of the BB to apply the same amount of backspin. So you maintain.
Part of why people think they're so good is actually, and again on that video, my old video that you'll see, I think it goes from something like 1.12 joules with an R hop to 1 joule with a flat hop to 0.8 joules with the stock hop. And that's just the amount of energy it rolls out the system to backspin efficiently.
Mm.
But I think what we're saying, Ben, is I think for if your average punter, if they want to have a go or they want to pay for it to be done, generally I would recommend that a flat hop is the sensible.
Yes.
It's just a sensible, reasonably low cost. But those little bits of plastic are phenomenally expensive.
Yeah.
I don't spend 14 quid on a nub. It's quite terrifying.
I know. That's why I tend to try and make my own because screw paying that much for what is really an overinflated cost. The two rubbers I recommend for flat hopping are the Promi Purple and the G&G Green. I've used the G&G Green to great success.
Okay.
But I don't know if their quality's starting to waver a bit at the moment. I haven't been able to get hold of any recently. So that I would only recommend it if I've used it recently, and I have used. So I got G&G Green in all of the G&Gs behind me, and in the L1A1. So anyway, we've talked about hops, kind of done that to death. Hop chambers, don't replace it.
I would say leave it.
Yep. Unless it breaks,
just leave it.
Don't change it out.
Don't get excited by buying Pro-Wins and all this stuff and nonsense.
No.
Pro-Wins are incredibly variable as well. Their QC is like all over the place. So I think some people get a really good one and go, oh, it's brilliant. And then some people don't. I mean, I tend to like the rotary style hops more than the traditional dialy ones.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's generally, unless you're chasing every single last bit of performance, I don't think it's worth it. And at 350 FPS, it's 1.12 joules, it's just not worth it. Unless it breaks.
Yeah, the only time I'd recommend upgrading a hop is if it's a unique gun and a unique hop design, and the one that the company came up with was crap, and someone's made an aftermarket one that's actually working.
Fair enough. Yeah.
ICSL 85, I hear there's one coming up at some point if some YouTuber pulls his finger out.
While we're doing hops, should we talk about barrels, because that's quite a common thing. That's hugely dependent on how good your initial barrel is all in the first place.
So talking of barrels, I'll pull the AFE out again. There was a stock brass barrel in this, and it was a pretty good performer. And then we were doing a bulk order back when we were a society, when I was at a uni society, and my partner ordered a Madball stainless steel barrel for it, quite a nice quality barrel, and saw no difference between the performance between the stock brass and the Madball barrel. And sure, the FPS went up slightly because there was a tighter bore, but other than that, no performance difference. And that's because the stock barrel had a good bore quality, and that's really the only thing you want to look for in a barrel is the bore quality.
So what do you mean when you say that?
So the bore quality is how much the inner diameter of the barrel varies as you go down the length of the barrel. And really what you want is a barrel that has a consistent diameter the entire way down. And the way you can tell that is if you look down and you're not seeing lots of rings. So if you see lots of rings in your barrel, that normally means there's going to be slight step changes, or your barrel actually can kind of wobble as it goes along. So if I switch over to the table cam, I'll draw one out. So you can get barrels that kind of meander a bit like a river. Obviously not as extreme as I'm showing here, but some barrels do have that sort of quality. And that's when you want to start going, hang on a minute, maybe I should get a replacement barrel for this. The other thing you can do is polish or bore out the barrel. Someone just said rifling in a barrel. So no, our airsoft guns are a lot more like muskets in the fact that they're smooth bore barrels.
there's kind of two schools of thought.
Mm-hmm.
That the BB either rides on the top of the barrel or it rides in an air cushion.
Yep.
Physics and maths say it rides in an air cushion. It doesn't actually touch the barrel as it goes down.
Okay. I've just seen Bry Airsoft actually makes a really good point here. Changing the length of the barrel or the bore can be a good way to boost or reduce your FPS. So one of the things you should be doing is a lot of guns will come and the barrel length won't be matched properly to the cylinder. And by that it means either you've got under-voluming, which means that the cylinder volume, effectively the air in there is less than the volume of the barrel, or it's less than the correct ratio that you need for the weight of BB you use. So in fact, changing your weight of BB changes the ideal ratio between your cylinder and your barrel. So technically, as you go up in weight, if you're keeping the same spring in there, you should shorten your barrel to make up for that. So in fact, even though my SLR has like a 700mm long barrel externally, I only run a 455mm barrel in it because I've got full length cylinder and I'm using heavyweight BBs, and that is the kind of better mix for them. And lo and behold,
if you want to get into that, look at the sniper forums.
Exactly.
They have it down to the absolute T on a matching barrel length to cylinder volume.
And I mean,
what you should use for different BBs and all that sort of stuff.
There's people in there doing crazy stuff. Like I think there's someone at the moment trying to get a glass barrel cast or made just so they can put it in front of a high frame rate camera with smoke in the cylinder to try and see what the air does as the BB fires, and once and for all answer where the BB rides in the barrel. Should be quite cool.
Really cool. We love that. As Bryce says, you can also change the length. So if you have something that's a bit hot, you can put a shorter barrel in. Again, you don't have to change the spring.
Not
and
always.
You can drop your FPS.
It can
Not
also
always,
increase.
But
yeah. The best way to tell
also,
the best way to tell which way to go is what kind of noise the gun makes when it fires with a BB in. If it makes a loud pop when it's firing, that means it's over volumed. So shortening it should decrease the FPS. If it's quite silent, then increasing it will decrease the FPS because it's already kind of used all of its power, and it will just be adding resistance because it's touching the barrel. So that's a low-key way of doing it. You can then pop out a calculator and try and figure it out. How about polishing your barrel? So you can...
I've never done it.
I've never done it either, but you can... People do talk about it. The other one they do is lap a barrel. But that's... Well, yeah. Again, that's when you get up to your like sniper levels of things that people do that, and they'll get marginal improvements, and it'll be like the shot-to-shot consistency will go in by a quarter of an inch, but for a sniper at 90 meters when they're really pushing out the range, it might be the difference between a hit and a miss. Really, you don't need to lap a barrel. Clean your barrel out well, so long as you're not seeing any large particles in there and your barrel consistency looks good, so you're not seeing any major changes in the kind of reflection of the barrel, then I'd say that's good enough. And if you really think it's your barrel that's causing issue, sure, go buy a new one. I wouldn't say spend all that much money. Probably just buy something like a ZCI.
Okay, so barrels wise, I've always used Prometheus. That's because I'm old and they were dead good when I started off. Other good brands I've heard of, AEG, they're expensive. PDI are very expensive. Lambda are meant to be doing some quite good stuff.
I've got a Lambda. I've got a Lambda in my DMR. I love it, but I've not heard anything bad about them. So I think Lambda branched off from PDI or AEG. One of the two. But the thing is, I've only got a sample size of one, maybe two. I've got a 603 Smart version of theirs in one of my mate's guns. He's used it once and he said it was good. But they're also really expensive. They're like 50-60 quid a barrel. I got them both on sales. So if you find one on sale and you're willing to take a punt, go for it. The general recommendation from most people on various forums in the UK I see is if you're not building a sniper or you're not worried about a super accurate DMR, ZCI barrels are the best bang for buck. Because they're like 25-30 quid. And apparently bore quality's on them pretty good. I should pick one up at some point.
Are they stainless?
I think they are stainless.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that's not necessarily not the most important thing in the world. Obviously, a brass barrel is going to be more prone to corrosion and picking up imperfections and getting scratched when you clean it and all sorts of stuff. So
that's why clean it carefully. slow and smooth.